Hello again. Welcome everybody. This is Michael Crafton once more, welcoming you to the class. And in this case, for this particular video, welcoming you to the specific structure and design of the class. Class is, of course, Critical Issues and Trends in Higher Education, CEPD 9213. The purpose of this class is to build upon the history class, which you've already completed. And using that historical perspective and appreciation, understand the contemporary shape of higher education, its various challenges and issues and opportunities before it. So the objectives, therefore, are to analyze critical issues in higher education for historical perspectives, to critically think and reflect upon crises confronting higher education, and to develop a plan, this is the great desire, a plan that utilizes theory and literature to effect change in higher education. So we have designed this course around 6 topics. Now 6 topics on the one hand might be considered too many. On the other hand, it might be considered too few. So there are lots of topics that are critical issues in higher education. But these 6, I think, cover quite a bit. So let's talk about them for just a minute. The first one that we'll deal with is cost. And cost is a good one to start with because that's something that we all understand. How much things cost and who's paying for what. And we understand that we should be able to have some sense of why things cost the way they do. So this is a good early one to tackle. And it touches on the other issues as well. In fact, that's one thing about these 6 topics. They really overlap quite a bit. And probably any one topic that you could pick is going to overlap with several others. That's the nature of a complex organization. The second one is student activism. So we think of protests. Think of the protests of the 60s against Vietnam War or against the draft. But you can also think of protests these days against issues related to race or cultural issues related to controversial speakers. These are the sorts of things that we're going to tackle. The third is demand, enrollment, retention, and completion. And this is a critical little set of topics, really, that are crucial for sustainability in particularly smaller schools. How do we make our product demanded? Who's going to demand it? To what level will they demand it? How do we get them to enroll? And then once enrolled, how do we get them to stay? And then, if they stay, complete and graduate. The fourth one is student population, and this has to do with changing demographics, as I'm sure you've heard about. A big one around the corner is a great reduction in the number of traditional age students. And so students are changing in age, they're changing in demography, they're changing in race and ethnicity, a number of things. And we need to be able to have the tools and access to some of the knowledge-based materials for grappling with that. The fifth one is political oversight and accountability. And this is a touchy subject for many people. I mean, this is the notion that higher education is not loved by everyone. It's being criticized for being too elitist or being too expensive or lacking oversight. And so a number of political entities, state entities, as well as governing boards are exercising an oversight and accountability to the degree that we haven't seen in the past. And finally, in light of all of these things, how do we as members of higher ed administration develop and articulate a purpose of why we should exist and why people should give us money and why they should come to us, and then how to market that purpose. And that's a good closing topic, topic 6. It's a synthesizing topic. Next, we'll talk about the expectations of your engagements. The arenas of engagement, or performance, I should say, the spaces where you'll be able to do your work are on discussion boards, in group activities, producing some video lectures, although most of the video lectures will be produced by me, and the readings. We have many, many readings that you can get in there and just swim around in. And then finally, the activities of performance, the activities being, of course, the performances that can be measured and assessed are simply your reading and responding through the discussions primarily. You're reflecting upon those readings and discussions and responses, relating to it, and then finally, creating and writing some of your own, what should we call, products for others to appreciate, review, and respond to. The required texts are two. Goldie Blumenstick's American Higher Education in Crisis is a good introductory overview of all the multitudinous issues that are facing higher ed. And Lesson Plan by William Bowen and Michael McPherson is a more sort of classic textbook type approach to the issues, but with some very, very learned assessments and recommendations that are, I believe, doable, although not so easily doable, but feasible ultimately for higher ed. So you'll appreciate those. The assignments overview, I'll give you the brief overview here, but there will be other spaces where these assignments will be talked about in more detail. We have two white papers, basically research papers, you would say. On the short side, though, each one's about 7 or 8 pages long. And one is due toward the middle of the term and one's due toward the end. And this is where you size up a problem and provide something of a recommendation of solution. Discussions throughout, discussions to everything. A digital narrative, and that's a group project. A group will produce a digital narrative on a topic that has already been assigned. And in that digital narrative, I'll show you an example of it, but you basically lay out the problem and propose something of a solution there. The book analysis, you see a number of thumbprints of the books that we have tagged as our resources for this class. The first 5 have been assigned to groups. The next 2 are ones that I like and that I think are very important for understanding higher education. They're written very well, and we'll just have those as resources. If any group decides they want to do one of those 2 as opposed to the one that's been assigned, we can talk about that as long as it fits into the scheme. And the scheme is this, that your book topic should not be the same as your digital narrative topic. We want you to branch out, to widen your deep understanding and your areas of engagement. So in closing, I would say that what this course tries to do, and what a lot of critical issues courses try to do, is to look at the fundamental barriers to success in higher education. And sometimes that's summed up in this metaphor of the iron triangle, that we have this strong obstacle in the way of creating a higher education institution the way that we want it. And that obstacle is quality, cost, and access, or another way to say it is the 3 A's: affordability, accountability, and accessibility. These are the things that get in the way of reaching what we would consider to be the perfect setting, the perfect institution, the perfect opportunity for higher education. Classically, if you want high quality, you're not going to get low cost. Classically, if you want high quality, you're not going to get high access. So how do we get all of these 3 together and balance them? That's the great goal. So that's what we will be working on. We've covered the basics of the class. My name again is Dr. Michael Crafton, and you see my email there on the screen. Feel free to write to me and ask me any questions about the course. Looking forward to diving into these issues with you and actually to be educated by you. Thank you very much.